Welcome. Hello, mighty companions. This is Earl Purdy. I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles here on Facebook Live. A course in how to have miracles. A course in how to experience miracles. This is a course in how to experience miracles. This is a course in how to experience good that happens to you that's beyond what you believe is possible. This is a course in how to allow some love and some happiness and joy to come into your life in ways that seem to transcend the laws that we believe in. This is a course in miracles. It's beyond the way we normally think. So we're going to have a course in right perception, right thinking. And today, I'm going to talk about trust in people. How do you really trust people? How do you really trust? How do you trust people? It's based on the lesson 181, which is I trust my brothers who are one with me. I trust my equals who are one with me. I trust who are one with me. And we're going to start out with our theme song, which is a Course in Miracles lesson, and it is called I Am Not. I repeat, I am not a victim of the world. I am not a victim of this world. I'm not a victim of what's going on in the world. I'm not a victim of what's going on in the world. You are not a victim of what's going on in the world. You are not a victim. You are not a victim of the world you see. Here we go. And I hope you get to the point, if you're watching on a regular basis, I hope you get to the point that you learn these words from Brother John Christmas from the Course in Miracles. And here we go. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. I'm not a victim of my mom. I'm not a victim of my God. I'm not a victim of events and circumstances at all. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. 'Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me. I'm not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that really doesn't last. I'm not a victim. You're not a victim of the world I see. You're not a victim of the world you see. 'Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. I'm Earl Purdy. I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles. I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles. I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles here on Facebook Live. And we're going to be on lesson 181 in the Course in Miracles workbook lessons. We're going to be on page 181. We're going to be on lesson 181 in the Course in Miracles workbook. And in the Course in Miracles, that's lesson 181, and lesson 181 is on page 337, page 337 in the Foundation for Inner Peace version of A Course in Miracles. In the Foundation for Inner Peace version of A Course in Miracles, we're on page 337 of the Course in Miracles workbook. The lesson is, I trust my brothers who are one with me. I trust my brothers. And the Course in Miracles defines brothers as equals. The Course in Miracles is not defining brothers as a male gender. When it says brothers, it's talking about our equals, those who are connected to us. And my job and my goal as a teacher of the Course in Miracles, and especially for as many years as I've been doing it, is the practical application of the ideas. It's not important that you understand the Course, it's important that you use the Course. It's not important that you understand the Course, it's important that you use the Course. Your understanding doesn't have anything to do with whether or not a jet flies when you get ready to go on a trip. So we need to recognize that our understanding is not the most important thing. The most important thing is to use the information. So are you a person that really wants to transcend doubt? Are you really a person that wants to get beyond any lack of conviction in yourself? Are you somebody that wants to get rid of your doubt? Do you want to get rid of your doubt? Do you want to get rid of your doubt? Do you want to get rid of any sense of lack of conviction in yourself? Would you like to have more conviction? And would you like to let go of any doubt? Would you like to let go of any doubt? Would you like to increase your conviction in yourself? Well, how do you hold up your faith? How do you hold up in your faith and your ability to actually transcend doubt? How do you have faith in your ability to transcend doubt and fear? How do you have faith in your ability to get rid of any lack of conviction in yourself? Well, the way you do that is through trusting your brothers. It's going to come through trust. It's going to come through trusting others, trusting those who are seen as your brothers and sisters. It says trust in your brothers. That's trust in your equals. Trust in the other beings that are children of God just like you are. Trust in the loving beings. In other words, trust in the loving part of beings. Trust in the divinity of beings. I repeat, I am not, and the Course is not talking about trusting egos. It's not talking about trusting egos. Trusting a person is not trusting their ego. It's not trusting their personality. It's not trusting the part of them that thinks that they're different from you. The Course is not saying trust people who don't like you, trust people who act unloving, trust in people who act crazy and selfish, and trust in people who see themselves as victims of everybody else and full of grievances. That is not your brother. That is not who the Course in Miracles is talking about. Right. Because sometimes when we hear trust in brother, you think it's talking about trust the part of people that don't know the truth about themselves. Trust the part of people, trust the people who are sad and angry and fearful and attacking and doubting. No, it's not asking you to trust that part of anybody. The Course is not crazy. It's not asking you to trust crazy people. It's not telling you to trust people that's full of anger and guilt and grievance. It says trust your brother. It's saying trust that being who is also connected to love and connected to spirit. Trust the divinity, what's really real about that person. So what is the attitude that the Course tells us that we need to take? Well, it says, I want you to recognize, what is it that you need to recognize? It says, well, I want you to recognize that you don't have to believe this, you don't have to accept this, you don't have to welcome this. Some of this you might resist, some of this stuff might be something that you don't like, something that you resist, something that you don't believe. Some of the things that the Course says may startle you. Some of the things that I say from the Course may startle you, but it also says you are not asked. What is it that I'm not asked to do? Earl, you're not being asked, and nobody that's watching you or listening to this, do you know that none of them are being asked to judge these ideas? It's not about you judging what's being said and then according to whether or not you think it's true that determines whether or not it's true. You're not being asked to analyze the ideas. He says very plainly that if you will use it, the ideas, these ideas will show you that they're true. What? If I do what it says, it will show me that it's true. If you do what it says, it will show you that it's true. So what is it that the Course is asking me to do? Well, the Course is asking you to learn how to look at things another way. What is it asking me to do? It's trying to teach me another way of doing what? The Course is trying to teach you another way of looking at everything that's going on in your life right now. A Course in Miracles says if you would look at things differently from the way you look at things, it is a miracle. It's a miracle if you want to be happy more than you want to be right. It would be a miracle if you don't want to blame other people for what you think you've gone through. It would be a miracle if you practice unconditional love. It would be a miracle if you assume 100% responsibility for what you're experiencing in life. It would be a miracle if you healed your relationship to God, if you heal your relationship to the Creator. It would be a miracle. That's why it's called a what? A Course in Miracles. So then you go, well, how do I get rid of my doubt? How do I learn how to let go of any lack of conviction in myself? Well, he says it right here. Because if you all are following me in the book, you'll see that what I'm doing is right there on the page in front of you. And the reason why I do it that way and I work out of the book is because you shouldn't be dependent on any teacher. The teacher should be someone who's supporting you. But if you go, I'm not going to pick it up and I'm not going to use the material, I just want you to see that the ego is fooling you when it says the Course in Miracles is hard to understand. What's hard to understand about saying that you need to learn how to trust? And that he said, but the part that was interesting to me was when the Course says that's going to hold up your faith and your ability to transcend doubt and a lack of sure conviction in yourself. So if I want to let go of my doubt, I'm going to have to learn how to trust. So then what does it do next? It says, well, I'm going to tell you what's happening when you attack somebody. Would you like to know what's going on when you attack somebody? Would you like to know what's going on when you're angry at somebody? Would you like to know what's going on when you're judging and condemning someone? Yeah, okay. What does it mean to attack somebody? What does the Course mean? Well, it says it right here. When you attack somebody, you're proclaiming that they're limited by what you have perceived in them. So if I attack you, it means I think you are the way I think you are. He's like saying, he says it right here. He says, when you attack a brother, you proclaim that he is limited by what you perceive in him. So I think you're the way I am seeing you. When I attack you, I think you are limited. And I think you are limited by what I perceive in you. Mm-hmm. So I see you as being selfish, or I see you as not acting up my script, and I see you as not being the way that I want you to be. In other words, I see you as limited by what I see in you. So I think you are what I see in you. I think you are how I see you. Does that make sense to everybody? That's exactly what we do. That's what we do all the time. When we're angry and we're attacking, I'm going, I think you're limited by what I'm seeing in you. And what I'm seeing in you is you're not acting out my script in some way. Somehow or another, you are making me mad. In other words, I think you are what I think you are. And so the Course says, now, if you think a person is limited by what you see in them, then that means you're not looking beyond their mistakes. If I think that you are limited by what I see in you, I'm not going to see you beyond your errors. And I would like to share that the Course in Miracles, another term for errors is ego. The ego is the error. So you could just as easily substitute ego as when you say errors. So that means that when I attack you, I think you're limited by what I see in you, and I'm not going to look beyond your ego. I'm not going to look beyond the part of you that seems like it's selfish, or the part of you that seems like it's doing something that's making me mad. I'm not going to look past the part of you that I think is hurting me, not obeying my script. I'm not going to look beyond that. I'm attacking you because I think you're limited by what I see in you and what I think you are. That's what I think you are. And then I have to remember that I'm doing that when I look at the world leaders that I think I'm upset with, or the politicians that I think I'm upset with, or what's going on overseas with the war and who seems to be causing. In other words, I have to remember that the Course in Miracles tells me that if I don't apply the truth to everybody, I'm not doing what I'm being taught. That if I want to leave anybody out of forgiveness, then I'm not. If I want to leave Putin out, if I want to leave Biden out, if I want to leave Trump out, anybody that I want to leave out of the truth, then I'm not obeying what the Course in Miracles is teaching me. So I think Putin is limited by what I see in him and his flaws, and I think Trump is limited, or Biden is limited by who we think their faults that we see in them. The Course in Miracles is telling me that I'm not looking beyond their errors. I'm not looking beyond their mistakes. I'm not looking, and you can also apply that to your regular, everyday friendships, relationships with your friends and your lovers and your partners and your children. The same thing. If you say your child is a problem, that's you saying you think your child is limited by what you see in your child. If you think your mate is the problem, that's the same as saying you proclaim that your mate is limited by what you see in your mate. So you're not looking beyond their errors. So if you're not looking beyond somebody's errors, if you're not looking beyond somebody's mistakes, then what are you doing? Well, here you go. Every time you're angry, every time you're upset, you are magnifying the limitations that you see and the mistakes that you see in everybody else. Say what? If I just focus on, you just focus on my ear, then you don't see the rest of my body. Even though my arm is here, you won't even see my arm. Why? Because you're looking at my ear. So whatever you focus on is what's going to be magnified. Not only are you looking at my ear, you might even be like a doctor and take an instrument to look at my ear even closer under a magnifying glass of some type. So you are always going to magnify what's upsetting you about somebody when you are not looking beyond their mistakes or whatever it is you see that they're doing that's upsetting you. That's what you think is the truth about that person, is a limited idea that you have about that person. That's what's making you mad. I'll say it again, whatever you're mad about right now, whoever you're mad at right now, whatever you're upset about right now, whatever you're upset about right now, whoever you think needs to be different in some kind of way for you to be happy, if there's anybody in your life right now that you're feeling any kind of separation from, any kind of upset with, then I'm telling you, the Course in Miracles is telling you that you think that person is limited by what you're seeing in that person. You're not looking beyond what you think their mistake is. And not only that, you're magnifying and focusing in on their ego or whatever you perceive as the mistake or the wrongdoing that they're doing. Don't tell me this is not practical. And don't tell me there's not anybody in your life that you don't know you need to see different at some level. You wouldn't be on earth. You wouldn't even be here. You wouldn't even be here if you had a totally innocent mind that you were aware of. You wouldn't even be here if you were truly giving love the way we should be giving love. You wouldn't be here if you weren't judging. If you are not different from anybody that you see, I'm not different from you and you're not different from me, the biggest illusion is all of us could be here, but yet we're different. We all got egos, we all got sanity in our minds, and we all got insanity in our minds. We all have periods of things we take responsibility for and things we blame and judge other people for. That's all of us. Every single solid, or you wouldn't be here. You can't be separate from the world you're in. You can't be different from the world you're in. You have to be like it, okay? So I hate to blow that theory that everybody else has got the problem, but you're doing it right and you're doing it good. No, that's not true. The truth is, whenever you're upset, it's because you think a person is limited by what you're seeing in them right now. And you're not looking beyond their ego. You're not looking beyond that, whatever it is you think they're doing to you. And you're focusing in on it. So the Course in Miracles says, then their mistakes are going to become magnified, becoming what? What happens with a magnified mistake? He says, well, a magnified mistake becomes blocks to your awareness. Your awareness of what? Your awareness of the self that lies beyond your mistakes. Oh, now, are you telling me that if I focus on what I think another person is doing to me and how limited I think they are, that it's actually going to make me aware of my own mistakes? Yeah, this is exactly what you're being told, Earl, in class. That's exactly what you're being told. That, okay, you can want to focus on everybody else's errors and mistakes and think about what everybody else is doing wrong, but actually what's going to really happen is you're going to end up just becoming more and more aware of your own flaws, your own ego, and your own mistakes. But I think I was focusing on their mistakes to prove I wasn't making the mistake, that I was the one doing it right and they were the one doing it wrong. No, the truth is, every time you focus on their mistakes and magnify their mistakes and what you're upset about, it's actually going to make you more aware of your own ego, aware of your own mistakes, your own selfishness, your own jealousy. Whatever you are magnifying and focusing on in them, you're just going to become not more aware of that in them. You're going to become more aware of the ego in yourself. Whoa, that's not fair. That's not fair. I want to be able to condemn and judge others and feel like it makes me a higher person because I'm better than the person that's being that way. You see, I'm a spiritual being that studies the Course in Miracles, so I'm certainly better than someone who's condemning and judging everybody else. No, if I see you as, whatever I see you as limited to, I'm going to become aware of that limitation in myself. It says it right here. They become blocks to your awareness of the self that lies beyond your own mistakes and past their seeming sins or mistakes as well as yours. So if you want to be aware of your spiritual identity, you say you're on a spiritual path, you say you want to really know your God self, you say you really want to know your powerful, loving, free self. That's why we're studying this, because we want to know our real self and we want to know our spiritual self. He says, well, if you focus on everybody else's errors around you, and if you do that, it's going to block your awareness of your true self that lies beyond your own ego. So if you ever want to know who you are beyond your ego, then you got to stop focusing in on mine. If you ever want to know the unlimited divine being that you are, you're going to have to stop focusing on what you think of as what's wrong with me. And I'm focusing in on what I think I don't like about you. I'm sorry, you can't have it both ways. You can't judge, criticize, and condemn everybody around you and then think you're going to know your own divinity or your own true identity that this book is talking about. He's like telling us, Joe, you want to know your divine self, right? That's why you're studying this book. That's why you read, because you say you want to become awake. Well, let me tell you something. First of all, your butt's going to have to learn how to trust, girl. Okay? But I'm not asking you to trust the insane people that you see around you. I'm not asking you to trust the egos that you see around you. I'm not asking you to trust somebody that thinks they're separate from you. You can't trust somebody that thinks they're separate from you. You should not trust somebody who thinks they're not connected to you and separate from you. Because somebody who sees you as not being joined with them is not going to look out for you the way they're going to look out for themselves. Of course you can't trust them. You don't mean as much to them as they mean to themselves. So they're going to look out for themselves more than they're going to look out for you. And don't buy into them saying that that's not true. It is true. If they think they're separate from you, then that's the ego. And I'm not asking you to trust egos. I'm not asking you to trust somebody's personality. We all know personalities change from day to day, week to week, month to month. So what I'm asking you to do, first of all, is to remember that whenever you're angry and upset with somebody, you think they're limited by what you're seeing in them. And when you focus on the lack or the upset or whatever it is about them that's upsetting you, it's going to do two things. It's going to make you unaware of your true God, divine self. And it's also going to make you become more aware of your own ego and your own fears and your own insecurities. That's what's going to happen. And you become more aware of theirs. So not only will I see more of what I'm upset about in you when I focus on what I'm upset about in you, I'm going to start seeing more of what upsets me about me. How many of you all have perception? You got perception? Okay, y'all got perception? Okay, perception has a what? What is the baby of perception? What is the little baby that perception has? Perception has a little focus. Perception has a focus. Like right now, you're perceiving and you're focusing on, hopefully, partially, on me. Right? You right now you're focused. He says, well, so another word for perception is focus. And I love that. When I say I perceive you, I'm really focusing on you. That's what I'm really doing. And what do we want in special relationships? What's the main thing we want in special relationships? Well, we want somebody to focus on us. And not only do we want them to focus on us, there's one little caveat. We want them to focus on us more than on anyone else. That's what makes you the special one, is that their focus is on you. So perception has a focus. And it's the focus. Do you know that your focus gives consistency to what you see? If I focus on that chair and I'm always focusing on that chair, then it's giving me consistency in what I'm looking at. I'm focused on the chair, I'm consistently seeing the chair. So therefore, it's what you focus on that gives consistency. If you want to experience any consistency in your life, that's going to be determined by how much and what you are focusing on and how much are you focusing on it. So if you change your focus, do you know that if you change your focus, what you behold will change accordingly? I'm focused in on this iPod, and then I'm now focused in on the microphone. So what I saw changed when I changed my focus from the iPhone to the microphone. If you're focusing on lack, if you're focusing on sickness, if you're focusing on separation, if you're focusing on guilt, if you're focusing on what makes you unhappy, how can you stop focusing on that makes you unhappy or angry? You have to change your focus over to something else. And when you change your focus off that stuff, then what you see will change. If I'm not focusing on lack, I will see abundance. If I'm not focusing on sickness, I will see health. If I'm not focusing on conflict, I will see peace. If I'm not focusing on lack, I'll see abundance. If I'm not focusing on my upset, I will see harmony. So what did the course just do? It just told us very simply how to change what you're focusing in on that's making you upset right now. It didn't say stop. It didn't say, Earl, stop and study the iPhone to see the microphone. It said just change your focus from the iPhone to the microphone. You don't have to spend all day breaking the iPhone down and analyzing it and where did it come from and is it charged and because I just don't want to focus on the iPhone anymore. That's what's making me see stuff that's upsetting me. So what do? I don't analyze the iPhone. I turn my focus to the microphone, which is the love, which is the joy, which is the peace. So why would I want to analyze the iPhone? Well, I want to analyze the iPhone as a way of defending against looking at the microphone. Because while I'm analyzing the microphone, I'm not analyzing the iPhone, I'm not looking at the microphone. While I'm analyzing my upset, my fear, what happened to me, that's got me so angry and got me so upset right now, I'm not changing my focus from what's upsetting me. I'm actually digging deeper into what's upsetting me. Recognize misery and go the other way.
Hallelujah.
That's what the Course in Miracles says. Look, y'all, if you see a bear coming towards you, you're going to go the other way if you got any kind of sense. You don't stop and say, Mr. Bear, let's process. Let's discuss this. Let's talk about this. You get the heck in the opposite direction. It's like, why the Course is saying we are geniuses at complicating very simple solutions. When people tell me relationships are complicated, I always want to barf. Yeah, they're complicated with two immature people that are not willing to take responsibility for themselves and not in love with each other to begin with. I guarantee you relationships are tough when you're with somebody you don't love and you're not practicing any kind of truth with them. Doggone right. But it is not complicated to a conscious being. Love is not complicated to somebody who knows the truth. I want peace, you want peace. Let's have peace together. Let's learn together how to let go what keeps us from having peace. And then let's use our relationship to wake up to who we really are and hopefully tap into something greater than both of us that's smarter than our little dumb butts that don't really know what's going on, but we think we do. Let's use our relationship for more sanity with each other. That's what two loving people say. They're not going to spend all night debating about what time you came home for dinner yesterday. Okay, so if you want to see something different in your life, what did it just tell us that I needed to do? I need to change my focus. Now, what does the next sentence say? It says your vision, when you do what? When you change your focus, your vision, he can tell. How can you tell when you change your focus? He said, well, the Course says, well, when you really change your focus, and it's only focused on fear or love, and when you change your focus, your vision, what you see now, will shift. So when you change your focus, I changed my focus from the iPhone and shifted, I saw the microphone, right? And so now my vision is going to give support to the intent. I love that. Now my, come on back. No, you did that really good. There we go. Okay. When we pause like that, and if it goes out or pauses or something just hang in there. It's going to come back and reconnect. So let's go back. What you see has a focus. It's what you focus on that gives consistency to what you're looking at. If you change your focus, then what you see is going to change. So what you're seeing is what you're focusing on. What you're seeing in your life is what you're focusing on. What you have in your life is what you're focusing on. What you have in your life is what you're focusing on. So if you change your focus, then what you see is going to shift, and it's going to give support to your new goal that's replaced the old goal. So let's do it in a picture, okay? This is fear, anger, upset, separation. We call this the iPhone, right? So now it's shifted over to the microphone, which is love and peace and joy. And then he says, once you shift over to the thing you want to see now, it's going to start supporting your new goal. What does that mean? I want to see a love and abundance, and this is love. It symbolizes love and abundance. So if I'm looking at love and abundance, will that support my goal of having love and abundance? If I'm focusing on love and abundance, would that actually support that new goal to see love rather than to see fear and upset anymore? Because if I'm looking at love and I'm receiving love and I'm having happiness and I'm having abundance and I'm feeling connected, that's going to support that vision, and it's going to make me want to look at the microphone more and more and more and more and more. Why? Because the love that I'm seeing from seeing love makes me want to see love more. The kindness you're giving me, because I'm focusing on that in you and you're that's going to make me want to see it more. That's going to replace, because if you have been in a relationship that's really sane and peaceful after you've been in the crazy ones that you had all your life in the world, you can never go back to the stuff you used to. I would most spend any time in a relationship with anybody now trying to change them or convince them to love me or care about me than a man in the moon. Now, we wouldn't have 3 conversations about me having to convince you to treat me right. Nobody who's conscious puts up with the stuff that we put down when we're in our selfish ego self. You need to be thanking everybody around you that's putting up with you. You know I'm telling the truth. You ought to be thankful to everybody around you, because you know you are sometimes consistent. You know sometimes you're crazy and sometimes you're sane. You know sometimes you're happy and sometimes you're sad. You know sometimes you're blaming and sometimes you're taking responsibility. You need to be grateful to the people who are hanging in there with you while you still don't know how to be loving and kind yet with any consistency. And so that's what it says. If you remove your focus on your brother's sins, let's make this plain language. If you remove your focus on the other person's guilt that you're upset, their sins, if you remove your focus on what you think the other person should be doing differently, he says when you do that, when I remove that focus from the iPhone of fear, then he says, what will you experience? Well, if I'm not focusing on the conflict anymore, he says, well, what you're going to experience is peace. And where does peace come from? Well, he says, well, peace comes from having faith. So are you telling me that if I want to have peace, which the Course defines as total fulfillment? So I want you to hear that. The Course in Miracles defines peace as total fulfillment. I love that definition of peace. Because I used to think of peace like being dull, being in a cave, twiddling my thumbs, looking down and just following my breath. Which is cool. I'm not knocking it at all, but that didn't sound like a party. Right? So it wasn't something that got me really thrilled when I would hear people say that. But I love hearing peace being total fulfillment. That feels right. And so the Course says, well, how do I have that? It says, well, you got to have faith in sinlessness. I knew it was a catch. Okay, what do you mean? You got to have faith that there is something innocent inside of that person you're upset with. You got to have faith that there is something good in everyone, no matter what it looks like on the outer. You got to believe that there's sanity and love somewhere in everybody, but most especially the person that you're most afraid of. The person that you were the most upset, that would be the one you would want to see the sanity in the most, I would think. I would want to go for Putin's sanity more than anybody else's. I want to believe that there is something in him or us, because to them, we're the enemy. Just like to us, they're the enemy. From their point of view, we're the ones that's the enemy. So really, and from their point of view, they're doing what's going to protect their interests, just like we're doing what we think is going to protect our interests. That's what's so funny. We all doing the same thing, but it depends on which side you're on as to who you think is the one in the right, right? So we're Americans, so therefore, everything that's happening, we're on the right side. Yeah, as an American, it would make sense that we would look out for our interests, but they're also doing the same thing. They also think that what they're doing is serving their own interests. So the truth is, do we want to focus on our differences in the separation, or do we want to look at the microphone and we want to get a witness that there's something good in everyone and there's something good in them? So the Course in Miracles says, this faith receives its only sure support. So how are you going to get to the point that you see that innocence, that you see that sanity, that you see that love? He says, this faith receives its only sure support from what you see in others past their sins, past what you see as the thing they've done wrong, the guilt. So I'm not going to, in other words, I'm not going to see any innocence in you until I want to. I'm not going to ever see any good in you until I want to. Not only that, he says, if I'm going to have faith in your innocence, I got to be willing to look past the thing that's making me think you're guilty. If I'm going to see your innocence, Patrick, I got to look past whatever I think Patrick is guilty of. Doesn't that make sense? If I'm focusing on Patrick's guilt, then I'm going to just become more aware of the guilt and anger inside of me. And I lose sight of my divine self because I've also lost sight of his divine self. I'm not looking at Patrick's innocence. I'm looking at what I think Patrick is limited by in my perception. See, I make up an ego for Patrick. I call that my perception of Patrick. I do that for everybody. And the Course says we make up egos for everybody. And we call it our opinion of them, our concept of them. You made up an ego for Earl Purdy. And if somebody asks you about Earl Purdy, you would tell them your ego that you made up about me. And that's what everybody does. They tell people the ego they made up about you when people ask them about you. They're not hearing about you. They're hearing about that person's perception of you. So the Course is saying, I'm not going to see the innocence in you if I want to focus all my attention on what you're doing wrong and what's bad about you and what's separate about you and what's guilty about you. So the Course in Miracles says, then if you focus on somebody's mistakes, then it's going to witness their mistakes or sins in you. He keeps saying that. Because I wish I could say I was on this spiritual path 100% because I care about you more than I do me. I'm learning how to care about you as much as I do me. If I already knew how to do that, I wouldn't need to be on the spiritual path. So I assume everybody that's on the spiritual path is lacking in the thing that they're trying to acquire. If you're trying to become more loving, then you must not be a very loving person in your perception. And that's smart that you want to be loving because you recognize you're not. But I'm making a mistake if I forget that. That if you already knew how to be unconditionally loving, you wouldn't be trying to do self-improvement classes, which means you probably got some parts of you that really suck. And I do too. Or else I wouldn't be studying this stuff. I wouldn't be studying a book on forgiveness and how to be kind and loving if I was already totally forgiving and kind and loving. So you already know I'm not. You already know I'm 100% not 100% kind and loving. Why? Because I'm teaching this and I'm trying to learn it. So when I fail to be sane all the time and loving all the time, you forgive me for that. You're not perfect either. You don't do everything right all the time either. And why should you be forgiven? But if I do something wrong, I need to be crucified and hung from the highest tree. But you turn around and do something wrong and well, why don't people give me a break? Why don't people love me more and support me through this? So when you do something really raunchy, then you want everybody to go, oh, I'm gonna look out for you. Okay, it's all right. I'm gonna overlook the fact that you did that. Then I do something and you go off. And you're angry with me and you can't let it go. So if you focus on my mistakes, it's going to witness that you got the same thing going on in you. And that means you won't transcend the sight of the ego. It means you'll keep on seeing stuff that upsets you. And you also won't see the innocence and the peace that you're looking for. This is so simple. It's going to take me a lot of times to hear this. This is too simple, so it's going to take me a lot of times of hearing this. to be able to do this. So in our practicing today, what are we going to do? Yeah, well, he says, what is the first thing we're going to do? Okay, what is the point? He says, well, we first let all such little focuses focus you. He says, we're going to let... That'd be great to say to somebody. You get upset. Focus you. Rather than the other F-U, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like, focus you. Focus me, right? It says, what's the first thing you do? He says, the first thing you got to do is let go of every little focus, and that will give way to your great need. What is your great need? To let our sinlessness become apparent. So what is my great need if I want to have prosperity and abundance? What is my great need if I want to have loving relationships? What's my great need if I want to have what I perceive as a successful life and a successful career? What is it that I need if I want to heal my sense of separation with God? I need to let you all's innocence become apparent to me. I need to see the good in you when I'm upset. I need to see the innocence in you when I think you're guilty. So how do you do that? Now, this is when people are really tempted to go unconscious. Do you know that people that like to suffer always have a hard time staying awake and aware when you're about to get them out of their suffering? Do you know that a person who suffers is a person who at some level has come to the conclusion that sacrifice and suffering is going to bring them joy and happiness? That somehow or another, if they punish themselves, they're going to be okay. So people who decided to punish themselves because they think they're guilty, when you give them the way out of their pain and suffering, they go unconscious because they still want to hurt, they still want to have the lack, and they still want to suffer. So when a person wants to suffer because they're tuning out of the answer, then you have to give them the freedom to do that. You have to give them the freedom to suffer as long as they want to. And you focus your attention on those who are still wanting to get out of the dilemma they're in enough to pay attention to what they're being told about how to get out of it, right? If I'm trapped in the bottom of a well and I really want to get out, and you tell me to grab this rope, I'm going to grab the rope because I want to get out of the well. Mm-hmm. But if I want to stay at the bottom of the well, then I don't care how many ropes you put down, I'm not going to grab it. That's the way that's the way people do who are studying and on spiritual paths. They don't realize that if you don't love yourself completely, then there's a part of you that thinks you need to suffer. And it thinks that your life is going to get better because you're suffering and you're paying your sacrifice, right? So if somebody tries to give you an easy way and you believe that it's no pain, no gain, then when you get the easy way, you will not use it. So what do? He says, now, how do you do this? He says, well, we're going to instruct our minds that it's this we seek. So I'm going to tell myself I'm seeking innocence. Okay, I'm seeking. So you do that too right now. Tell yourself I'm seeking innocence, I'm seeking innocence, I'm seeking innocence, and only innocence. He said, tell yourself you're seeking love and only love. Because it's all the same thing. I'm seeking freedom and only freedom. I'm seeking abundance and only abundance. I'm seeking God and only God. Instructions, not analyzation, not theoretical, not discussing. Instruction. What is the instruction? Instruct your mind that is innocence and only innocence that you seek. Okay, I'm going to do that. I only want innocence. I only want love. Then what's the next thing you do? He says, for just a little while. I'm getting ready to ask you to do something. Can you do just a little while? Are you capable of doing just a little? Can I ask you to do just a little? Okay. Well, for a little while, I don't want you to care about your goals for the future. What? Right now, I don't want you to think about what you want to happen to you in the future. Do not think about your goals for your future right now. Do not think about what you want to happen to you this evening, an hour from now, tomorrow, next week, But in this moment, don't think about your future goals. And also, I don't want you to think about what you just saw in the previous instant. I don't want you to think about your future, and I don't want you to think about your past. When do you want me not to think about my future? And when do you want me not to think about my past? He says, well, I don't want you to do it during this interval of time that we're practicing changing your focus. Right now, we're practicing changing your focus. I don't want you to think about your future. I don't want you to think about your past. What do you want me to think about, doggone it? Well, I want you to think about practicing what we're doing right now. I want you to think about what I just told you this whole entire time we've been working together. I want you to tell yourself that I want to see innocence. I want to see innocence. I want to see your innocence. That person I'm upset with, I want to see their innocence. That person that I'm upset with, I want to see their innocence. I want to focus on that rather than what's going to happen the next time I see them in the future, and rather than think about what I think I've gone through with my daddy in the past. Instructions. What are we practicing? We're practicing changing our intent. We're practicing changing our intent. So what are we practicing? We're practicing seeking for innocence and nothing else. I want to see the innocence in you, Marjorie, and nothing else. I just want to see the good in you, the love in you, and nothing else. I want to see the good in my child and nothing else. I want to see the good in that policeman and nothing else. I want to see the good and nothing else. I want to see the good in that Ku Klux Klansman and nothing else. I want to see the good in my sisters and brothers and nothing else. Okay? We seek for it with no concern except we're going to do it right now. I'm going to do it right now. The person that I think I'm upset with right now, I want to see the good in them right now. So what is it that's a major hazard to success? What is it that keeps a person from being successful in changing their focus and practicing? That's right. I know that I'm going to say it to you again, everybody that's watching, because I've read the Course in Miracles over 100 times. It says that it's going to be extremely difficult not to focus on what I'm saying to you right now. It says it. And it says it's for two reasons. Number one, I'm not giving you the answer that you believe works. I'll say it again. If the only way out the well was the rope, and you believe that was the only way out of the well, you would be grabbing the rope. The fact that you can't focus in and can't pay attention is not because you're a bad person. It's because I'm not telling you what you want to hear. I'm not giving you the solution that you want to hear that you believe would work for you. Because if you believed it would get you what you want and you really wanted it, would you not do it? So what is a major hazard to success? He says, well, the major hazard to your success, which is hilarious, he says, has been involvement with your past and future goals. He said, actually, what's keeping you from being successful is that you're constantly preoccupied with what happened to you in the past, and you're totally always preoccupied with what's going to be the next thing you're going to do. Either right now you're listening to me and you're thinking about the past, or you're listening to me and you're listening to me, or you're listening to me and you're thinking about what you're going to do later on today and sometime this week. He says that's what keeps you from being successful. Successful at what? Changing your focus. That's what's keeping you from being successful, is you think too much about the past and you think too much about the future. And he says, I'll tell you something else. He says, do you know you've also been quite preoccupied with how extremely different the goals this course is, advocating from the goals you had before? In other words, the course is saying, the course's goal is to change your focus. The course's goal is forgiveness. But your goal used to be probably I want some form of power, fame, money, or physical pleasure. That's what 99% of the people that you know want. They want some form of personal power, or some form of fame, that's specialist, or money, or they want some form of physical pleasure. So the Course is saying, because when I first got into the truth, it was really about me having a better physical life with more material things and more, making this more like Disney World for me. What about you? When you first got into this stuff, were you not trying to make your physical life and your material comforts and stuff like that? You were programming, treasure mapping, visualizing. But now I'm simply saying, I want to know God, I want to know innocence. That's not what I was talking about at first. I wasn't talking about I wanted to see innocence in everybody when I first got on this path. I had personal fantasies I wanted to have acted out. So these goals, these goals are very different from the goals I used to have. Just like he said. He says, and, I love this, he says, and you've also been dismayed by the depressing and restricting thought. What is the depressing and restricting thought? He says that if you should succeed, you're just going to lose your way again. He says a part of you that believes that even if you did this right, you still might go back to doing it wrong again. That even if you are loving today, tomorrow you might go back to being a, less than cool person. He said those things are really real for you all. You think if you even tried to do this, that you would fail again. Then he says, and I love the next line. He says, how can this matter? I love it. He says, how can this matter? How can what matter? How can it matter if you think you're going to fail? It doesn't matter if you think you're going to fail. It doesn't matter if you think you could succeed and then one day go back to doing the same old stuff that you used to do. He said that doesn't matter because the truth is, I don't know how to break this to you. He says, but your past is gone. And you are imagining your future. Your past is over. And what you're sitting up here doing today is you're either thinking about a past that's over or you're imagining what you think might happen to you in the future. As a matter of fact, that might be why you're afraid. Because you're thinking something bad could happen. You're thinking about something you haven't done or something you should have done differently, maybe, or what's going on in the world situation. So I might be imagining the future, which the Course calls the not yet. I like that. Instead of saying future, say not yet. I'm going to love you in the future means I'm going to love you in the not yet. I'm going to be rich in the future. I'm going to be rich in the not yet. See, I'm telling myself, don't give it to me now. Every time I focus on the future, I'm saying, don't give it to me now. Every time I focus on the future, I'm going, don't give it to me now. Because the future is not yet. I'm finally going to have a beautiful career and job in the future, in the not yet. And do you know I had the best love of my life in the past? Man, back in the whatever, I had the best love in my life. He says, past means gone. I like to say, you could say gone, but I'm from the South and I'm black. So I go gone. Okay? All right. So the past is gone. And the future is not yet. So he says, stop being concerned with the gone and the not yet. That's what he says. That's why you fail, because your mind is always blank. Because when you're focusing on the past and the future, you're focusing on something that doesn't exist. So every time you focus on the past and future, you have a blank mind. So you've already reached that Zen state. You already have a blank mind. In Zen, it's all about having this empty, blank mind. He says, well, you all are walking around with empty, blank minds all the time because you're always thinking about what's gone or you're always thinking about what's not yet. Well, none of those exist. So your mind is blank all day long and you wonder why stuff ain't happening in your life. You're not thinking about anything real, ever. And I'm not going to rush to this. I'm not going to finish all this today. I try to keep my classes around to an hour. But I feel like, and this is so good, I want to make sure I go through the whole thing. Because being able to see something other than the stuff that's upsetting you and other people, that's got to be important to you. I know it's important to me. I'm tired of having my peace at the mercy of what other people do and how other people act and how other people behave. And do you know, I'm also tired of the stupid idea that I used to have that I was going to change everybody in order for me to be happy. So I'm done with that. And I want to join with other people who are also done with that. And we're willing to go, let's see what this stuff is happening, saying, and let's do it, right? So I'm going to finish this paragraph. And because I would hope that by the next Sunday you would have read this lesson. So that and you would have had a chance to try some of the stuff that I'm saying. So the Course in Miracles says, I love this line when he says, if you think about the past and think about the future, and you think that you might go back to your old ways even if you do succeed, he says this doesn't matter because the past is gone, you're imagining the future. So whenever you are thinking about the past or the future, or you think you might fail, that's just your plan to keep you from changing your focus. Rather than change your focus, you're going to think about the past or the future. It's a trick. You just don't want to do what you're being told. And so therefore, you're going to focus on the past or the future because that's a defense against changing your way of looking at that. It's a defense against changing your focus. Because if I think about what you did to me in the past, instead of thinking about how much I want to see your innocence right now, then I'm going to focus on what it is that's going to keep me keeping this grievance going with you. So that keeps me from wanting to change my focus. If I focus on which I'm upset with you about, that's going to make me not want to look at the innocence in you. So every time you keep focusing on what you don't like and don't want about people, that's just you trying to keep from changing your own mind. That's just you trying not to do your work. That's all it is. You're not ready to change your focus yet. And he says, so what do? He says, well, we're going to lay these pointless limitations by a little while. Let's just lay this down for a while. And we don't look to the past beliefs. And what we will believe won't intrude on us right now. What we're going to do right now, we're going to have one intent. And that one intent is what? I want to see some good in you. I want to see something good about you. I want to see something that's innocence and love in you. I want to see something other than the thing about you that's upsetting me. I want to see something about you other than the stuff I don't like about you. I want to see something other than in the stuff that's making me mad about you, that I'm making myself mad. I want to see some good in you. I want to see some peace in you. I want to see some innocence in you. I want to see the sinlessness within you. And that ugly stuff is not what I want to look at, because I want to trust you who are one with me. All right. And this is good, isn't it? It's powerful, isn't it? And that's why I'm going to go through the whole thing, because but you've also heard enough to change your mind if you want to. That's what's so cool about it. I'm Earl, and I want to thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to make a donation, I'm a full-time teacher of the course. If you would like to make a donation, if you would like to make a financial expression of appreciation, then in front of this picture. Then you can do it on my website, www.earlpurdy.com, earlpurdy.com, and you can also use Zelle. Not Zelle. Zelle is the problem. You can use Zelle, you can use PayPal, the Cash App, or Venmo to also make a donation, and you just need my email. And my email is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. I really thank you. Those of you all who want to really make this even realer and more practical in your life, and you know you're ready for a change, then have a one-on-one session with me. Being with me on a one-on-one, especially now, because I'm growing just like you are. So even if you had a session with me in the past, it's not the same as having a session with me today, even though that was helpful in the past. So what I'm saying is, I can save you a lot of time. The Holy Spirit through me and using the course in my 40 years of working with people could save you a lot of time. You could have a quicker healing in what you're trying to go through. If you're willing to make that investment in yourself. I'm also a soul purpose astrologer and numerologist, which is all about the same thing. How can you have the kind of happiness that you really want to have the easiest way you can have it? it answers that question, just like the course does. So I'm also available for that. Just go to my website, www.earlpurdy.com, look under the Clarity Sessions tab, and it will explain everything I'm doing in detail, and you can self-book a session right from my website online. You can self-book a session. Every Sunday at 1 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time in Denver, Colorado, here on Facebook Live, on the Earl Purdy page, we do A Course in Miracles. You can come and in person as well as watch it online. If you're in the Denver area and you want to come join me in person, it's at 1555 Race Street, R-A-C-E, 1555 Race Street, here in Denver, 80206. Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, I do hardcore Course in Miracles for Course in Miracles students. I do classes specifically for Course in Miracles students who are studying the Course in Miracles. But anybody's welcome to watch. But I teach from the perspective that you are actually interested in doing this, and you're doing this, and you want support. So that's the Thursday night class. We call that the hardcore class, but actually all of them hardcore. If you're coming out this book, it's hardcore. That's just what time is, because it's profound in its simplicity. It's profound in its simplicity. So again, you got to give your mind the instruction whenever you're seeing something in somebody that you don't like. So Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, Earl Purdy page on Facebook, Hardcore Course in Miracles. I have tons of videos on YouTube, on my website, and of course on Facebook. So there's all kinds of instruction and information and help for those who really want it. I'm here for those who really want to change their mind, who really want to get the Course in Miracles. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm not here to convert anyone. I'm not trying to convert anyone. I want to work with the people that want to work with me. I want to work with the people that want to work with me. I want to work with the people who see it the way that it comes through me as being helpful to them. That's who I want to work with. I want to work with the people who are open to me. Everybody else did not apply. Okay. Okay. I have no desire to teach you whatsoever. Because I want you to have the perfect teacher. And who would be the perfect teacher for you? The one you're open and receptive to. And if I'm not that person, I'm not your teacher and student. Because that's what we're both of them, teacher and student. Okay, so I'm going to give you, there's an instruction that the Course is saying that we need to use, and it's simply this. When you see yourself seeing something in somebody and you're getting upset with somebody and you're making yourself feel angry or a lack of peace, or you see something in someone that's not very loving, this is what you are to say. This is what you should say to change your focus. To change your focus. What do you say to change your focus? To change your focus. What do you say to change your focus? To change that. So now I'm about to tell you what you should say to yourself every time you're upset. Every time you're seeing something in someone that makes them look like they're guilty and sinful and bad. This is what you should tell yourself. Tell yourself. Tell yourself. Tell yourself. It is not this. It's not this that I would look upon. I see what's upsetting me or what I'm upsetting myself about in this person, and do you know what I'm going to tell myself? You know what? It's not this that I want to see. It's not the fear and the suspicion and the harmfulness and the selfishness and the judgmental behavior. It's not the thing that I don't like in you that I want to see. It's not this that I'm looking at that I want to see. It's not this stuff that I'm looking at that's upsetting me about you, like with your partner, child, friend, whoever you go, you know what? I don't want to look upon you as being bad, selfish, guilty, lacking, horrible in some way. It's not this I would look upon. I trust my brothers. That's the same as saying, I trust my equals. I trust those who are one with me. Notice that the lesson is I trust my brothers who are one with me. It says, who do you trust? I trust my brothers who are one with me. I do not trust my brothers who are separate from me. Sorry, I don't, because you can't trust a person who thinks they're separate from you. Because they're not going to always act in the interest of both of you. That's just what time it is when you're in the ego. That's not a condemnation, that's just a fact. So this book is not saying to me, trust somebody that's separate from you. It's saying trust somebody who is one with you. So the first thing I'm looking for with anybody is how much do they recognize they're one with me? That's the same as saying, how much does this person want peace? How much does this person want joy? How much does this person want kindness? I'm listening to them talk. Are they always magnifying somebody's flaws or faults? Are they always telling me their limited perception of everything and everyone? Well, if I focus on them, then it's going to increase my awareness of my own ego. And then I'll be seeing more ego. So you say, I trust my brothers who are one with me. I trust my brothers who are one with me. I trust my brothers who are one. Or you could say, I trust others who are one with me. I trust others who are one with me. Repetition, repetition, repetition. This is the rope. I'm throwing the rope down the well. Are you refusing to grab it? Well, you might be refusing to grab it if you're not doing what the Course is telling us to do right now. If you are finding that you're not actually doing what you're being told, to tell yourself right now, say, it is not this I would look upon. I trust others who are one with me. It is not this that I would look upon. It is not this pain, this fear, this sorrow, this depression, whatever you're seeing, the selfishness that I might be seeing in someone else, the thing that they're doing that I think is upsetting me. You tell yourself, I don't want to look on this. This is not what I want to look on. It's not this that I would look at. It is not everything that's bad about you that I would look at. I trust you who are one with me. So you trust the part of that person that is one with you. You do not trust in ego. 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 Do not trust a mind that thinks it's separate from you. Do not trust a mind that thinks it's separate from you. That's how you do it. And then we got even juicier stuff next week that we're going to talk about. Please share this video. Please share this video. Please share this video. Listen to it. Watch it at least 4 times. 4 times. 4 times. 4 times. At least 4 times. It's through remembering and repetition that you change your focus. How to change your focus. Yeah. Whew, I can't wait to watch this and listen to it at least 4 times. Because you know that I'm teaching best what I most need to learn, right? You know I'm teaching this because I need to learn how to trust others who are one with me. That's every teacher you know, don't you fall for it, don't be fooled. Every teacher you know is teaching what they want to and need to learn. That's what a teacher is always doing. And that's what makes you equals. Love you.